My mentor, Mark Michael Lewis, says that shame has given guilt a bad name. And he wrote a beautiful passage in his book, The Key is in the Darkness, around this idea. At first, this idea might sound strange. Most of us think that shame and guilt are basically the same thing. They are not. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. Guilt is a corrective mechanism of our conscience telling us when we've done something that doesn't live up to our standards or goes against what we believe is right. When we feel guilt, we have an opportunity to examine what we did or didn't do and take responsibility for fixing it. In this way, guilt can actually be seen as a gift. When we feel shame, the feeling of being fundamentally broken, unworthy, or unlovable, we tend to avoid responsibility. We hide, we defend ourselves, make excuses, and blame others. It's an incredibly painful experience that we will do almost anything to avoid feeling. The more shame we feel, and the more we fail to distinguish shame from guilt, the more we will avoid our guilt. Our guilt becomes tainted with shame. The more we release shame and realize that our value is transcendent of our actions, the more we become able to face our guilt, to learn the lessons, and improve our behavior. When you shame another person and you tell them, implicitly or explicitly, that they are fundamentally broken, they are much less likely to hear what you are saying. But when we make this critical distinction and we separate the person from the behavior, something changes. Then we become able to appropriately condemn the behavior while honoring and respecting the person. We can say, hey, what you did hurt me. You hurt other people and you hurt yourself. I know you can do better than that. That conversation leaves room for responsibility and growth and change. And as I was contemplating this idea today, it got me thinking about another phenomenon, a similar dynamic that exists in our society today. I'll frame it like this: legality has given morality a bad name. Every society on earth today uses the law to impose moral preferences. Every one of our societies legally permits aggression. And just as with shame and guilt, many of us believe that there is little difference between legality and morality. Nothing could be further from the truth. Legality says you must do this. You will face aggression if you do not obey this law. Morality says you should do this because it leads to increased well-being, flourishing, or desirable outcomes. Morality is our idea of the good life. It's how we believe ourselves and others ought to behave in the world. Morality is something that each person decides for themselves. When we use the police force and taxation to impose our standards and ideas of goodness on others, whether it's criminalizing victimless acts or expropriating wealth for welfare, education, healthcare, or any other activity, we infringe upon people's sovereignty. When we take away a person's self-sovereignty, their control over their body and their property, we also take away that person's responsibility. We cannot then expect that person to take full responsibility for modifying their choices. The more we fight to impose our idea of the good life on everyone through the law, the more we come to believe that morality is something that must be imposed. We become afraid of the idea of letting people make their own choices. We forget that choice is the heart of morality. When we agree not to aggress against each other for any reason and hold all individuals, groups, corporations, and governments to this standard without exception, we restore the foundation of morality. When we make this critical distinction between legality, which exists to restrain aggression and is a very good thing in that regard, and morality, which is the domain of choice, we are then appropriately able to encourage and persuade others to improve their behavior. Only from this foundation can real moral progress be made. This is why I find the philosophy of the live and let live global peace movement so compelling, and why I became an ambassador of the movement. We make a clear, precise distinction between the legal and the moral. We passionately urge people to be their best selves, while at the same time taking a stand against aggression for any purpose, even the most noble ones. We're reminding the world of the time honored and time tested wisdom that no matter how pure the intentions, aggression fails. Forced morality is an oxymoron. Morality, by definition, is something that's chosen. We must evolve out of this cycle of trying to endlessly impose our morality on others through the law. Just as guilt only works when we clearly separate it from shame, morality only works when we clearly separate it from legality.